All right, so we are finishing up with Arnold Bocklin, and this was the painting that I had lost the tab for. I don't know what happened to it last time from his middle period. This is the deposition from 1874, so I wanted to throw that back in here. It's an absolute masterpiece. I think it's one of his best paintings, and it takes the deposition here at the top of the hill, and you can barely tell that it's a hill. It's supposed to be the place of the skull, which is normally represented as a desert, as a bleak setting, but here it's got this cheerful little lawn with grass and flowers. The two thieves look like Neanderthals, and they've pulled down Christ. He's already stiffening with rigor mortis, and the angle is what's interesting. It's sort of as though the camera has tilted away from the traditional iconotype where we see all three of the crosses, and it's tilted away and it's a side view. And it's very realistic. We've got the cypress trees in the background connoting death, as we have said, and the wonderful contrast of the blue gown with the red over here, the orange over here, and the green body of Christ matching the green of this guy's outfit. It's just a masterfully done composition, one of his best from his great high period. But now we're looking at the period of his decadence from 1886 down to 1901. This is when he returns to the Vox sign mode, the kitschy mode, and I'll try not to use that word more than that one time because it's over the top. But let's use other words like sickly sweet, overripe. He's gone back to waking being, using a surface semiotic layer of classical signifiers. And here, this mermaid is represented in opposition to this guy, this silly guy down here, almost like an image of the two Pisces fishes, which I think he probably had in mind here. It's kind of silly, and these images get sillier. This is 1887, as is this next painting, which isn't quite as bad. This is Sea Idol, and it looks as though this is not a mermaid. This is a human female who has been having sex with this Triton, who has begotten on her two infants. There's no classical models or prototypes for that. It's a totally fresh image, so it's interesting. And then let's see, we have from, I believe it's 1888, Vita Somnium Brev. It's over the top. It's so sickly sweet that it just makes me want to throw up. It looks like a holiday greeting card, Valentine's Day type of thing. This, on the other hand, is a masterpiece, Fight on the Bridge. It is truly a great painting, 1889, and wonderful the arc, the bow as they go over the bridge that it makes, and the bodies are perfectly organized. These naked figures. Not sure what fight he's referring to, if any specific fight at all, but it's really well done. Wiki art allows you to zoom in a bit to look at the detail. Marvelous. He did two of these, but I don't think the second one is quite as much of a success as that one. Here we are back to kitsch. I tried not to say it. I tried, but that's what it is. Although it is amusing and funny to the idea of a centaur needing to have one of his shoes hooves shorn by the village blacksmith. Which is what this is called, Centaur at the village blacksmith shop of 1888. Ludicrous, but fun to look at nonetheless. And here is a picture that's sentimental. This couple that resembles Philemon and Baucis out of the Act 5 of Faust Part 2. It resembles them, but they're just in old age, and we're supposed to feel sorry for them, and how sweet and oh, how nice it is that they're looking at their flowers. I mean, come on, Bocklin. And then this is over the top, St. Anthony preaching to a shark, and the shark is receiving the sermon and listening to it. Absolutely ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that it is funny. And then let's see, what do we have here? I think it's him. Yeah, it's a later self-portrait now of him. He was obviously a dandy, very well dressed, good-looking older gentleman here. Very confident of himself here, full of life. He's moving into a period of great success for himself here. This looks like 1893. He's very famous, and at the end of the 19th century, he was the most famous German artist alive. So he's basking in the last decade of his life, kind of like Schopenhauer did in the 1850s in his last decade, where he was all the rage, or 1860s, I guess, because it was Darwin's Origin of Species in 1859 that made everybody want to read him. Oh, nature really does suck. Let's go look at Schopenhauer. He told us that all along. And now here is one of his last great final masterpieces. In many ways, even it's my favorite Arnold Böcklin painting. It's epic. It's on an epic scale. Odysseus over here, the Cyclops Polyphemus hurling a rock at them as they are leaving frantically. They're hoping that the boulder won't sink the ship, and this is Odysseus over here. Absolutely magnificent, but it is, of course, what we started out with, the bombast and melodrama of Pergamon and Wagner. And indeed, there is this is from Sperlanga, which was a grotto inside of a cave that the Emperor Tiberius, who reigned from, I think, 13 AD to 37 AD, had, and this is one of the sculptures that were in there. This is the Blinding of Polyphemus now, the same giant who's being blinded. And even though this isn't Hellenistic, it's imperial, they were deliberately hearkening back to the kind of Hellenistic overripeness of the Laocoon, let's say, or the art of Pergamon. And it's exactly consistent with the spirit of Böcklin's late work here, with all of his work, actually. This is called War, and I think we can see that the style is dying. These are stiff, sketchy-looking figures. Somehow it just looks like it's not finished. And there's a sense that the style is now dying. It's stiffening up. And here, this is, again, completely ridiculous. This is Nessus and Deianira with Hercules over here. And it's silly. Nessus is trying to rape her, and it ends up with the death of Hercules, with him wearing a poisoned garment that is given to him. And I suppose the comical thing is that Deianira here looks like a man in drag. This does not look like a woman. I don't know who would want to rape this woman, but maybe a fat centaur would like that. It's just ludicrous and silly, and it's almost embarrassing to look at. But he does still have a couple of great paintings. This is a nice one, A Castle by the Sea. It goes back to his original Villa by the Sea. And every time he goes back to that motif, and we saw one in the last video, a ruined fortress or castle by the sea, the fortress is more and more ruined, more and more isolated. That one had the rising sun. This one has the darkness of the night enclosing it. The waves are really beautiful, though. All right, let's see what we got next here. This is his last and final masterpiece. It's called The Plague, and it's meant to be a personification of plague ravaging towns. Perfect for the COVID pandemic. This is plague. And so in these last paintings, he's been playing around with the four horsemen of the apocalypse, war and famine and whatever they all are. This cool monster. He's back to he finishes off with his serious mode rather than kitsch. There's a couple of things left. A late self-portrait from 1900 here, which is beautiful. It's got a nice lyrical quality to it, maybe done in pastels, it looks like. And then the last painting is 1901, and I think it speaks for itself. The party is over. It's just a bad painting, no matter which way you look at it. Roland mad. It's the motif of Orlando Furioso. It's pretty bad. It's a mess, no matter which way you look at it. So the party is definitely over for Arnold Böcklin by this point. And this is 1901, and he dies at the age of 74. But he had a really good run from 1846 to 1901, and ended with fame and accolades and everybody wanting to buy his art. So then what we're going to do next is look at the true successor now to Arnold Böcklin is Franz Stuck, who's a German artist also. This is his Wounded Amazon painting. Absolutely spectacular. It's wonderful. Now what Stuck does is he inherits the basic iconography of Böcklin with all the classical figures, the centaurs, the goddesses, everything. He inherits that entire world of Böcklin, but he transforms it by putting it into the Art Nouveau mode that's coming in 1900, and Stuck's career stretches, I think, from the late 1870s or maybe 1880s down into 1928 is, I think, when he dies. And so he is the first German modernist artist, truly modernist artist. And he is very little known, and so we're going to go through the stages of his art next and see how he transforms Böcklin's classical vocabulary and siegs us into modernism proper with his Art Nouveau approach to all of this. And Stuck is quite spectacular. All right, so that's it for Arnold Böcklin, and we'll leave it there.